Welcome back to Going For It with Becker. In this episode, we talk with Mike Osborne, a Keller Williams agent out of Denton, Texas, serving the entire Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. Mike joined Fusion about 18 months ago. He was doing a little over 10 transactions a year and about $5 million in sales production. Today, he's just under $14 million in sales volume across 43 transactions. That's not luck, and it's not a market that suddenly got hot. Mike is soft-spoken, he's intelligent, and he is super professional. He shows up dressed for the occasion every single time, and that tells you how he operates when no one is grading him on it. In this conversation, we get into his upbringing, how that shaped the way he shows up for people today. And we talked about how Keller Williams built his business foundation early on and why he finally made the decision to start building a team instead of trying to carry the load all by himself, and what that shift has taught him. This is Mike Osborne. Let's get into it. Okay, welcome to the program, Mike. Thank you so much for being here and joining me on Going For It with Becker. And I'm looking forward to having a conversation and talk about some of your recent successes and to learn a little bit about what's working for you and what's helping your business grow at the pace that it's growing. So welcome.
Well, thank you so much, James. It's a complete honor to be here with a great mind like yourself, an innovator like yourself. And just thank you so much for that opportunity to talk with you today.
Oh, well, thank you for the kind words. So let's talk a little bit about what market you are in, and a little bit about the types of clients that you're serving.
Absolutely. So I am based out of the Dallas-Fort Worth market. I specifically am, living in the North Texas area. My office is in the North Texas area, which is specifically the Denton area, which is about 30 to 40 minutes north of kind of the downtown Dallas area.
Okay.
I work all over Dallas-Fort Worth. I mean, from one end of the Metroplex to the other,
Awesome.
north, south, west, east. I go where the business takes me. Fortunately, my business, is made up of mostly all referrals, either coming from, my sphere of people that I've worked with before, or even other agents, from around, different states that, find me through various channels, whether it be our KW referral network or
Yep.
just other people that they know that they've talked to about me and being a good agent here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
That's awesome. So you came to us, I believe, about 18 months ago, or you probably graduated out of the groundbreaker phase about 18 months ago. And when you came to us, you were doing roughly 14 transactions, about 5 million. We pulled your current production. It's just under 14 million in 43 transactions. That is a significant jump. What has led to this increase in your business and the success that you're having?
Well, certainly Fusion has a good portion to do with that, just relative to how you guys have helped me to become more systematic and consistent, relative to my marketing and my touch points with my database and the
Yep.
people that I know, and just keeping, myself out there in front of folks, whether it be through social media, or mailers, different things of that nature. I've always been one that has been extremely consistent, with social media, and posting and letting people know that I'm in the industry and what I'm doing, and allowing them to see the success that I'm experiencing. And one of the reasons, like you mentioned about it, it was September of 2024, I believe, when I joined
Yep.
you guys.
Yep.
And then, like you said, got out of Groundbreaker and just hit the ground running. But I would say the biggest thing relative to that is the consistency that I've had in terms of getting up every day and just pushing to do my absolute best and bring continue to bring a high level of service to the industry, and just obsess over the details, and obsess over just the experience that my clients have, and customer service in general.
Yeah, that you said so much in there, and I just want to touch base on a few of those things if I can
Yes.
remember all the things that rang a bell for me. One of the things that's super important is that your success is in direct correlation with the value that you bring and the brand that you have. You're a soft spoken, intelligent, articulate individual. You can just tell that you care, you're professional, you show up professional. And I think so many agents, they don't understand that when people are selling their homes, oftentimes they're going through a divorce. They may have some financial problems. They oftentimes have things that they want to keep secret or private. And so when they can hire someone that is intelligent, conservative, and I'm not talking about politically, I'm talking about personally, that is going to advocate for them, that's who sophisticated people want to hire. They don't want to hire the jokesters or the entertaining people on social media that are making crude jokes. I see so many agents doing that right now to get views, but views that reinforces a brand that is not of someone that they can trust with their private information, I don't think is a good thing. And I think so many agents, they just don't understand how important it is to have a reputation that's warm, but also has an element of a banker or a CPA, someone that you want to get advice from, not a
Right.
comedian. Do you have any viewpoint on that? And do you really kind of focus on showing up in that way?
Absolutely, 100%, James. I mean, as you know, in dealing with this, this is one of the largest transactions that we're assisting people with, that they'll be a part of in their lives, and I take that extremely seriously. Yeah, professionalism is very important to me as well. I mean, the way that you see me here dressed today, I dress like that and show up like that for every single appointment. I've been doing that for the last 13 years,
I
every single day.
I love that. I love that.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And so, I feel that exudes, that care, and it shows people that you're really about the business.
That you're taking their transactions seriously. It absolutely communicates that with, tell me that you're serious about me without telling me you're serious about me. And you do that by dressing for the occasion.
Absolutely. You dress for success, they say, right?
Yep.
And I mean, I try to present myself in a way that, also makes people feel comfortable and
Yep.
feel like, I know what I'm doing, and I'm going to be a trusted guide for them. Um,
Yes.
I am the type of individual that I'm there every step of the way. Like I said earlier, I obsess over the details and making sure that they have, the absolute best experience that they can. It's a stressful process, but my goal is to take challenging things, and help, to make them, less stressful or as easy as they can be, for the
Right.
clients that I work with, and help them to feel, protected, and help them to feel, that they're in good hands, and that, they're going to be taken care of in this, big transaction that they're dealing with.
Yeah, so as you know, we provide advisory services. Some people call it coaching. I wouldn't really call it coaching because we're not the Tom Ferry types. But what we're really trying to do is to advise on building a business that's sustainable, that can grow, that can scale without having for the agent to do more work, where they can make more money and eventually do potentially less work in correlation with the amount of income that's coming in. And our number one fundamental is that the agent must become the agent that they would personally hire themselves. Now, I know agents, they're very picky, they want a high level of service, but the vast majority of agents offer almost nothing in exchange for their commission. They see it as a lottery ticket. Choose me, because I'm just going to put it into MLS and sell it. And not only is that super self-centered, but it's a great way to fail. I oftentimes do some speaking events, and I'll ask the audience, who, if you didn't know you, would you list with you?
Right.
And everybody raises their hands.
Of course.
So there's a lot of agents that are delusional, and I find it unfortunately, my job has to be kind of the jerk that points out maybe not so much, but I think that's healthy, because if we can really recognize, if you walk into your office and there's an agent that provides a higher level of service, you're not obsessing over the client experience.
Absolutely.
And what made Jeff Bezos? Obsessing over the client experience. That's
Absolutely.
what's made Amazon 100%. So I think that's so important. And then the other fundamental that I think is also critically important is leading with value. Like, what is the value? What is the exchange that is being provided for that commission, and being able to articulate, here's why you choose me. Here's what I'm bringing to the table. This is the value that I'm bringing. And, it's something that we do with Fusion. I'm constantly obsessing, what can I do that can make a difference for the agents that we serve, if they're utilizing it and putting it into place. And I think it's a critical element of business to have those two things. And I think you do that in so many ways, Mike, and it's inspiring because just so few people are looking at the client's needs and at commission second. And if you're an agent and you're watching this, you have to ask yourself, do I want to list with an agent that's most concerned about their commissions, or the commission is secondary and my experience as a buyer or seller is first? And it's an easy answer, but again, that's not what agents think about when they're selling. So what was your upbringing? What were your parents like? What was your childhood like? Or did you have a moment where all of a sudden you saw the light that it was about serving before getting? Because you're clearly articulating that. I'm just wondering, how did Mike become Mike?
Well, my upbringing, my father and my parents, I mean, they were relatively strict, parents, in terms of just making sure that, we were gonna, form into individuals that had integrity, and someone that, was going to work hard on anything that you put your mind to. And
Yep.
I saw my dad, growing up, consistently trying to do his best and
Yep.
be the best that he could be in the career
Yep.
that he had, and
What did
really.
he do? What was his
So
career?
he was in management, and it
Okay.
was in the printing industry.
Okay.
So printing magazines.
Competitive, very competitive business.
Absolutely, yeah. And
Yep.
I mean, he was an individual that was very about values and just having good values and being a good person, all around good person. And
Yep.
so I think a lot of that is kind of the foundation of where I've I guess built my structure and my discipline. And then from
Yep.
there, excuse me, from there, just essentially took that, and I think that helped me to focus on wanting to improve and grow myself to the best self that
Yep.
I could be, throughout
Yep.
the years of my life from that point.
Yep.
Yeah, nothing special, but he was certainly someone that was all about making sure that you were a person of integrity.
Yep. I love that. I was born and raised in California, Northern California.
Okay.
But I describe myself as the son of a Midwestern man. And, in the Midwest, there's a culture of people, they're not supposed to be braggadocious.
Hmm.
They're supposed to be right sized and to work hard and to give before you receive and all of those types of things. And although I didn't grow up in the Midwest, I think he instilled those values into me. And I don't think I hold a candle to who he was as a man, but I certainly want to be able um, to achieve what I think that he achieved. And I'm not talking about in finances or any of those types of things, just the quality human being and what a difference it makes to have a good dad. So
Absolutely.
awesome that you also have that. Did you have siblings,
Yes.
or do you have siblings?
I
Yep.
do. Yeah, I do have siblings. I have a brother. I have a sister, and I have a brother on my biological father's side, as well as
Yep.
a stepbrother,
Yep.
as well. So
Awesome.
I've got four siblings total.
Okay. Did you play sports growing up?
I did. I played basketball growing up.
Yep.
That was my love. All throughout school and high school and everything. I
Yep.
played ball. I attempted to go play college ball with a
Yep.
Laterno University, which is in East Texas area.
Yep.
At the time, they were not they're not a Division one school, so they weren't able to
Yep.
offer scholarships, and it wasn't
Yep.
really something that my parents were able to afford at the time,
Yep.
and or myself, and so I made the team, but I didn't end up going forward with that. I actually went and tried
Yep.
out with a friend of mine, who
Yep.
played there for a while. But yeah, basketball was my deal growing up. Sports, the type of sport that I played.
Great. Tell me about your office. You're with Keller Williams, which is a wonderful company.
Yep.
They got a great culture. Tell me about how Keller Williams has really helped you in your business and what that means for you.
Absolutely. I mean, they've helped tremendously. I mean, honestly, Keller Williams has shaped, I would say, a lot of, my, the way that I am now as well. And that's been through just mindset, I would say. And they do a lot in terms of teaching you and coaching you how to be the best that you can be, and to think with a positive mindset, to affirmations, things of that nature that
Yep.
keep us focused, each day in
Yep.
pushing through the challenges that we deal with on a day-to-day basis. And they've helped me to understand that, the possibilities are limitless.
Yep. They
In
really
everything
are.
they do. Yeah. And I mean, as well, like you mentioned, the culture, I mean, that's another thing that I really enjoy, and like about Keller Williams and partnering with them, being a part of that this is the first and only brokerage that I've been a part of, first and only office that I've been a part of. And that a big piece of that is also because of the culture and the fact that
Yep.
they're constantly innovating like yourself, to provide, systems and things that are going to help us to be successful in real estate, whether it be from a technological standpoint, or just, having, showing you that it's about systems, it's about leverage.
Right.
A lot of what you, promote and follow, which is why, I love being a partner with you guys so much as well.
And we love partnering with you. One of the things about Keller Williams was really the first organization that was teaching real estate agents to be business people versus being real estate agents.
Right.
And the Millionaire book that Gary Keller wrote and put together, I thought was fascinating. And for the people who are at KW or have gone through the KW system, as we know, there's a lot of people in other organizations that get their feet wet in the Keller Williams system. Of the 7 levels business, the very first one is hiring your first assistant. And that is the most difficult step because you have to have the revenue to be able to pay someone a salary. You have to know what to tell people to do and how to train them and all of those things that people don't know. And it's one of the things that I feel like we're really aligned with Keller Williams because we can really inexpensively and through a cash flow model provide that first level and that second level and that third level without having to have the difficult steps of getting kicked off. And so I've always, even though we've never done anything officially with KW or people that have gone through at different organizations, but they understand that they need to build a business. So all these other organizations have this influence that's come through the KW system and through Gary Keller. Those people who are building businesses, I think that's mostly because of Gary Keller.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I mean, like you said, he's, mastermind, in that way of showing agents that, it's about, like you said, running it more like a business as opposed to, just something that you get up and do every day. And I think
Yep.
if more agents followed that or they took heed to that, we probably wouldn't have as much fallout as we do. And I think what I think is very unique about you guys, and what I really love about you guys is that you take everything that Keller Williams, talks about, and the systems and the things that they, teach you to put in place relative to business, and you guys actually implement that for people. So
Yep.
that's where I think that it's huge in that fact, because especially as agents, and one of the biggest reasons why I joined you guys is because, as busy agents and agents that are doing a lot of production, we
Right.
get caught up in the day to day, like, and you don't necessarily have the time, or the
Yep.
wherewithal, to sit down
Yep.
at the end of the day and really,
Yep.
put those systems in place in a professional, sense, like you guys
Right.
are able to do and offer.
Yep.
And so, that's one thing that, one reason why I stick with Keller Williams, and why I enjoy, being with you guys, is because, you're teaching people how to run a business and how to create a big business. Um,
Yep.
and that's what I've really enjoyed about, being a part of Keller Williams.
Yeah, I mean the thing that I the reason why I like working with Keller Williams agents or people who have at least gone through that system is they have a higher level of sophistication business wise. They understand that you need to leverage. You can't do everything yourself. I
Right.
mean, if you know, I own of Fusion about 80%. I have investors that own about 20%, and I have, you know, we have a business that our collective agents are going to do over $8 billion in real estate this year,
That's incredible.
and then you take a look at Jeff Bezos, who owns now after his divorce about 5% of Amazon. And
Yeah.
I'd gladly exchange my 80% for
Right.
his 5%. It's not the percentage, it's the size of the pie.
Yes.
And you know, Elon Musk owns what, 9% of Tesla or 12%, but it's a relatively small fraction, and agents really have a harder time understanding that to really build a significant business, it's about growing the size of the pie, not the percentage of the pie that you have. And then
Absolutely.
for us, I mean, what we do at Fusion, you know, like I said, I'm the son of a Midwestern man. If you're going to take a football analogy, it's about blocking and tackling, just doing the basics. If you're good at blocking and tackling, you're going to win a lot of games. And we just execute. So all those things that an agent is required to do that might get tired, that's doing late night telephone calls with people because they're scared or worried or whatever the case may be, you still have to show up every day and do the basic blocking and tackling. And that's what we do. That's what we take off their shoulders. So it's execution. And what people don't understand, Mike, that drives me a little bit crazy is nothing we do is rocket science, but doing it all, doing it timely, doing it professionally is really complex. And what we find is, you know, less than 1%, maybe less than 10% of 1% actually execute things on a consistent basis. And then like for you, we take a great agent, a good person, a big heart that cares people, that's professional, and you add in that fertilizer to the good seed, and there's some amazing stuff that can happen from that.
Absolutely. I've certainly seen the fruit of that so far. And you know, it's been nothing but, you know, up since the point that, you know, I've joined you guys and doing that. And I mean, like you said, I mean, another big thing for me was, you know, I wanted to create something that I could, you know, be able to you know, leave to, you know, my family, or get to a point where, you know, I have something that's continuing to create wealth for me. Because, you know, I thought about the fact that, like, if I'm doing everything, you know, and I'm still in that stage of, you know, real estate now that I'm with you guys, of trying to add the leverage. You know, I've been an
Yep.
individual agent this entire time of doing that. Within the last couple of few months, I've, you know,
Yep.
incorporated, you know, my wife, my daughter in as assistants,
Yep.
you know, to try to start to formulate that team and that business that, you know, is going to be something that, you know, I can, you know, that's going to feed me for life, and that I don't have to necessarily be there, you know, in the day to day for, you know, that
Yep.
entire time. You know, what happens if I get sick, you
Yep.
know, different things of that nature. And I mean, you guys
Yep.
and Keller Williams have really, you know, really taught me to start to focus on that, and be more you know, into trying to get, you know, my systems in place, and really build a team around me.
So, Mike, if you are talking to someone who's doing 5 million, who wants to do 10 or 15 or 30 million, what would your advice be to them? What would be the 3 or 4 things that you would suggest?
Well, I would say, you know, number one, wake up with a positive attitude and start with with gratefulness. I mean,
Love
and
that.
I would say, you know, another big piece would be to, as much as you can, focus on bringing structure to your life in every area that you can, making sure that you're time blocking things and activities, everything that that you can, relative to making your schedule as structured as possible. Having that time that you have, that you focus on the business. If you're not at a point in your career, thankfully, I've gotten to a point where, as long as I get up and answer the phone and stay on top of things, I'm doing well. But that's not how we start, so
It's a
you have
brutal
to.
start. It's a brutal start for
Yes.
many.
Absolutely. And the only way that I think you bring, that to a better, point is by being as structured as you can.
Yep.
And consistency obviously is another big thing in that, realizing and understanding that, you're not going to win what you think you're going to win every day. You have to put in the work and, understand that, what you're doing now is going to show up 3 months from now, not, forgetting about, the fact of, like you said, the money, the commission, figuring out what you can do to bring value to your customer and your client, and
Yep.
just being there for them as a trusted advisor and helping in any way that you can, and the money will follow.
Yep.
Um, I would
100%.
say, yeah, I would say as well, focus on, you know, how little money can I make and leverage everything else out,
Yep.
and survive as soon as
Yep.
you possibly can, as fast as you can, I
Yep.
would say, because, that's something that I didn't necessarily do. I mean, I worked incredibly hard and have built a really nice business individually, but,
Yep.
I truly see, now looking back, hindsight, that, you want to get to leveraging out the things that are not you know, your bread and butter, if you will, or and leverage out the 80% so that you can focus on the 20% as quickly as possible.
100%. Absolutely. Working on the big rocks, not the small ones.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think we, as younger agents, we get caught up in that 80%, right? And it's hard to
Yep.
get away from that, but I think that comes from us having to do so much, and you not having the leverage that
Becomes habitual.
Yes, right,
Yeah.
exactly. You just get up and you do, and everything. And so I think focusing on that as soon as possible, and leveraging out, like I said, as much as you can, and making as little as you can while still surviving,
Yep.
you'll, in the long run, you'll be happy that you did that. And that allows you to, to really focus on, like we talked about, the big rocks, and creating, the best life and business that you can for yourself and the people around you.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's great advice. Mike, you're an incredible human being. You're a great agent. You're running a great business. I want to just congratulate you. I so appreciate you coming on and speaking with me today. And I look forward to seeing you in person real soon.
Well, thank you so much as well, James. I look forward to this continued relationship and partnership, and the sky's the limit as far as where my business will go when I'm working with you guys.
100%. Thanks so much, Mike.
All right, thank you, sir. Have a good one.